In chapter 22, the Deathly Hollows, they get back and land in a field, open field. Immediately, Hermione starts putting up the charms, protective charms around the tent, and they just kind of go through what they just experienced. Hermione explains her reasoning for the things that she did, like throwing the cloak onto Ron because he's supposed to still be home at the Burrow sick, and letting Harry be seen because he is supposed to be just to protect Mr. Lovegood so the Death Eaters don't kill him. And um, Harry, they thought about Luna as well, the fact that she is gone and best be where she could be. And this means that, they're assuming she's in Azkaban, but they don't know for sure because they don't know where Luna is. And as they keep talking about the Deathly Hollows, what implications that could be. They just try to figure out kind of what to do next. And Harry really wants to go after the story of the Deathly Hollows and like what that means, and maybe that the things are real. And majority of the chapter trying to put two and two together. Harry is really trying to reach for possibilities that the Elder Wand is real because at this point he believes his cloak is the same cloak as the one in the story, and the Resurrection Ring he believes is the same ring that Marvello Gaunt or the the family, because he remembers in a memory. Well, he remembers from the memory he was in with Dumbledore that Voldemort's grandfather said that he was a descendant of the family that was in the story. So the ring that he had that Dumbledore had to destroy, he doesn't remember exactly, but he says it might have had the mark of the Deathly Hallows on it. And he's saying that ring possibly could be the ring that is the Resurrection Stone. Same stone in the story. And he believes that Voldemort is out there looking for the Elder Wand so that he can defeat Harry and take him out once and for all. That's Harry's point of view. Hermione does not believe a single thing that he's talking about, because even Harry says that she's very closed-minded when it comes to those things, and she doesn't believe any of it. And Ron, obviously, he's trying to get back in Hermione's good graces, so he's kind of staying in neutral in that department there. So they're kind of going back and forth about those things. Harry is more on the Hollow side. Hermione is on we should be looking for more the Horcruxes. And Harry noticed that Ron was the one really taking charge because they were kind of divided on those terms. But Harry still wanted to keep, the friendship close. Didn't want Hermione to be mad at him, so he kind of followed along with the Horcrux story. But in his mind, he was still thinking about the Deathly Hallows, finding the Elder Wand possibly, or trying to find a way to find the Elder Wand. And so Ron was the one taking charge. So they were just moving on Ron's word, and basically Ron was the leader at this point. And so Ron had brought up the radio station that he was talking about, and he remembered the name was called Potter Watch. And so they've been trying to find a way to get on there because it's random every time. So there was a certain password they had to find to get on to listen to Potter Watch. And they finally got on there after a couple nights. And it was none other than Lee from Hogwarts, so the friend of Fred and George. He was the main broadcaster. So they all use code names. Lee's name, I believe, was River. And they heard Kingsley's voice as well to explain things that have been happening. This is the way to explain news that has been going on because they actually talk about the real news. So they explained how some people had died. They found Bathilda Bagshot's body, and they explained about that. And also they mentioned that Ted Tonks and Dirk Cresswell had been killed, and they had a moment of silence for them, and then also a Muggle family that was found dead as well. And so they went through on the news. Lupin came on the radio and talked about um, how things are going, people keep their spirits up, and he sent a message to Harry as well, just in case he was listening, just to keep his spirits up. And Harry did feel touched by what Lupin had to say about him. And George came on as well to talk about certain things, like that Voldemort is not totally confirmed to be out of the country, but that he's been going back and forth. And so this Harry goes back on to his saying that Voldemort is actually looking for the Elder Wand, and that they should be somewhat focused on that part. And then Harry makes the mistake of actually saying his name, and Ron starts screaming and said, "No, don't say his name." And then at that point, they heard a bunch of movement outside, and then they heard, "You're surrounded. We know you're in there." And it was like instant like that. The minute Harry said Voldemort, it was like that. And there was people outside the tent that they could hear, and they said, "We know you're in here," and that was the end of the chapter. Yeah, Harry really spent a lot of this chapter really trying to. He was grasping at straws a little bit. I believe that the story is somewhat true because every story has a little bit of truth in it most of the time, or just false enough to the point where it becomes true. He also believes that maybe Dumbledore left him something to snitch that he left him, and he hasn't been able to open it yet. And he was really trying to convince Hermione and Ron that the story is true and the Deathly Hallows are real. He really wants something to be able to fight Voldemort because it feels like he needs some powerful weapon to be able to defeat Voldemort. And he wants it to be a Deathly Hallows since he already has his cloak. And, Resurrection Stone would have probably helped too, in a way. And Elder Wand would definitely complete the task. So he's not able to get the snitch open this time, so that does not help his case. And yeah, it was good for them to hear the voices of the people that they hold dearest. George also gave a couple of instructions for people to watch out for, like a basilisk. A basilisk was mentioned, that if you see something out there, and I guess there's a lot of rumors going around with Voldemort and that he was able to kill people with one glance. That's a basilisk. If you don't know, for them, Harry would know obviously because he did fight a basilisk in the second book. And yeah, it was good to hear the voices and hear how things are going on the outside. That really put things into perspective for the group. And now they're in trouble.